You're listening to Feathers, a podcast of stories of women walking in faith. I hope these stories inspire you and encourage you to take flight in your own faith. I'm your host, Amy Bennett, and this is Season 7, Episode 13. Feathers is an outreach of Abiding Ministries. Find more encouragement at abidingministries.net. Well, hey friend, and welcome to Feathers this week. We have so many choices of podcasts these days, so I truly appreciate you popping this one in your ears today. I'm always so encouraged by the conversations we have here, and I hope you are too. Today is a special day because we have our youngest guest ever today. Chelsea Crockett is a 19-year-old YouTuber known as Beautylicious Insider. She started her channel when she was only 13 years old and now has 1.5 million subscribers on YouTube. Her channel started out with beauty but has morphed into a full lifestyle channel, including messages about all sorts of things, including her faith in Christ. She has a new book out called Your Own Beautiful, and as a mom who has teenage daughters that love to watch YouTube, I am fully cheering on Chelsea as she utilizes her platform to share her faith. It was so fun to have a fresh young voice on the podcast this week, and I'm excited for you to hear our conversation. So let's get to it. Here is my conversation with Chelsea. Well, hey Chelsea, and welcome to Feathers today.
Hey, what's up? How are you guys doing?
Oh, I'm so glad that you are here with us today. I would love if you could start out, introduce yourself, let us know what keeps you busy these days.
Yeah, so my name is Chelsea Crockett. I am most likely known to people for my YouTube channel and just my presence on social media. And I got my start on YouTube since I was 13 years old, and I am about to turn 20 soon. So I started making beauty videos, and then now I make anything from beauty to lifestyle and faith content, and then I pour that into other avenues on my channels like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And so I really just enjoy that wholeheartedly, and social media has been a really big part of my life, and I've grown up on it, and the people who follow me, we've just grown up together, and I truly believe that whenever I get married, the people who follow me are going to get married, and then whenever I start having kids, the people who follow me are going to start having kids, and so it's a really unique thing. I think social media is such an opportunity to just share your life, but also have an impact on others. And lately, I have just been busy with promoting my book that just recently came out. It's called Your Own Beautiful. And yesterday I spoke at my church, and I just had a really good time just hanging out with the members of my church, and we sold out on my books, and so I had a lot of fun with that. And I'm recently, or not recently, but soon to be moving to Georgia, and so that's a little insight there.
Okay, welcome to the South. Well, early welcome to the South. I'm in South Carolina, so you won't be far from me.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll have to make a trip.
Yeah. Definitely check out Charleston while you're in the South. Have you ever been there before?
No, I have not. But I've been to parts of North Carolina. So.
Okay, yep. I'm really close to Charlotte, North Carolina, so I'm actually not by the coast. But if you're going to go anywhere in South Carolina, I have to recommend Charleston. It's incredible.
Sweet.
Yep. Okay, so Chelsea, it's really incredible. You're 19, getting ready to be 20. You've had this YouTube channel for several years now, and you are now up to 1.5 million subscribers. So you've got to tell me, how in the world did this come about?
Yeah, so that's a lot of people to think about. I always envision, a stadium and people watching football, and I don't know how many stadiums that is, but just the impact of, thinking about 1.5 million lives, and it's not just like a username or a follower. I like to truly think of that as lives, and so I don't want to think of that as like a heavy weight on me or anything, but I think about how graceful and how blessed I've been to have the platform that I have just to solely share Christ with other people. And so I really don't know how I've gotten to this point, but there has been quite a lot of different points in the journey to get there. And so I started off with beauty videos, and then I gravitated more so into faith content, lifestyle content. But I was in this competition a year into YouTube called the Nick's Face Awards, and I got into the top 6 of the competition. And NYX is a makeup brand, and what we had to do was create a makeup look to have our model walk across the stage and be judged by about 4 different, I guess, critiques or critics, and they just judged our look based off of certain criteria, and I ended up as one of the runner-ups, and that's when my channel started, I guess, booming, because I had about 15,000 subscribers beforehand, and then I shot up to about 100,000. And then once you start getting a higher number in the rankings on YouTube, you start growing exponentially. And so once that happened, I just kept putting out content, and then I started traveling, and as the years went by, my family and I had a reality TV show, and that was kind of short. It lasted for, I think, it was 2 episodes because it was a pilot show, but it was a lot of fun. And then I was on this show called 17 Before 17, which is on 17 Magazine's YouTube channel. So I've had a lot of different opportunities in the journey, and I believe it's just now getting started, because I think there's so many more things to capture in life, and social media is just now getting started. Because technology is still new and fresh. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, I know my kid. I have 2 teenage daughters, and my kids definitely, they don't watch TV anymore. That's not a thing. Like when I was growing up, we watched TV. They watch YouTube. Like that's their thing that they watch every day.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we can leave comments on YouTube videos. TV, you can't really do that. It's just a connection thing. And, we were talking about before, you and I offline, about how, there's like vlogging families out there. Yes. Who just document their everyday lives, and they just have this connection with their audience. And it's surreal. Like, I'm thinking about vlogging, not every single day, but just creating that connection with my audience, because it's super fun. It's cool to look back on your life and how you've changed and everything too.
Yeah, for sure. So as this has grown, you've got this really massive platform that you're on now. And I don't want to say that sounds like impersonal by saying that. I love your perspective on looking at them and viewing them really as lives that you're able to touch. How do you, though, you've built this as a teenager. How do you keep such a good perspective and stay down to earth, even though you've got this kind of massive following?
Well, over the years, it hasn't necessarily been hard, but it's been a foreign concept, just seeing numbers change. And I used to get like super excited. Like, I used to sit up in bed being like, oh my gosh, I'm about to hit 200,000 subscribers. But now it's like, it's not necessarily that I don't get excited. It's just like, I just sit back and I watch what God is doing, and I just say, okay, God, if you're going to bless me with more people, then do that, but I'm just going to let you work through me. And if I lose people, then that's great too. And so how I stay grounded is I just create my daily time with Him. I have to have certain times in the day to where I get alone with Him, and I know He enjoys that time with me, and I know that I enjoy that time with Him. And it's just like any other relationship in life. It's a two-way street. And so if I expect anything out of a relationship, I know that I have to spend time with Him. And so I love the time that I have in my car, because I'll just blast worship music, and then I'll just do a lot of my praying in my car. And I have a prayer list. I pray for specific people. I'll update it ever so often. And I love to surround myself with people who are uplifting and who have the same goals, and I love my family because they're down to earth as well, and my boyfriend's super supportive, and so I believe all those things encompass how I stay down to earth, and I think that I am still learning how to navigate all this too, because I don't know where all of this is going in the future as well. I don't know if it's still gonna be booming in the future or if it's gonna go down from here, but you never know. God's in control of it.
I love that perspective and that just the wisdom you have at your age, just to know that really that time with God is really the core, and I think that's really how we can stay grounded no matter what, no matter what we go through. So it sounds like faith is definitely a part of your life, and it sounds like God is just really opening doors and growing that platform so you can impact people. But it really was grounded, beginning with beauty. So how do you see that relate to each other with, you kind of have this beauty platform, you talk about that, but then you have this faith that's sort of integrated. So how do you see those two things playing together?
Well, I think every single girl loves to doll themselves up with makeup. Not every single girl, but everyone loves to feel beautiful or loved and accepted, and we just love to feel good about ourselves. And so I think that the platform of beauty and just putting out content in that realm just gives me an avenue to talk about Jesus and to put out different content in a mix like that. And so they're related because, Jesus talks about beauty, and he talks about that we're all together beautiful. And I just think it's a beautiful picture that he creates in Scripture of how we can be confident in who we are, because we can be confident in him, and he created us as who we are for a reason, and we're created in his image. And so I want people to be confident in that. And so I think they're so directly related, and some people think they aren't because beauty, they think it's only outward, but beauty is inner and it's outward, and they're so connected in so many different ways.
I totally agree. Really, faith is our faith in God really is in all parts. It affects all parts of our life, including our outward physical. He created us, so of course it's related, right? He is very invested in our physical bodies and how we treat our bodies and present ourselves. So, and
he came as a human too, right?
Yes.
So.
Yeah. No, I think they're definitely connected, but I think you really had a turning point where faith became really part of not just your life, but your channel and being able to use your platform to share about your faith. So can you talk about that time?
Yeah. So there was a specific time that I just began my journey with God in particular, and I wanted to pour that into every single avenue in my life. And I went to this event called D Now, or Discipleship Now, and it's a weekend retreat for teenagers. And I was a sophomore in high school, and I was with a bunch of my friends, and I went to my church at this event. And that's when my relationship with Christ truly became real, and I decided that I want to follow him wholeheartedly, because I accepted Jesus in the bathtub when I was 10 years old, and I didn't really know what it meant. But a couple years after that, at this event, I think it just really made sense to me, because we got the opportunity to stay at the church at night. I don't think we should have been allowed to, because we were scoping out the church at night and playing CSI games, thinking we were the coolest people ever. But we were just in this room praying for each other, getting real and honest, sharing our struggles. And I just remember getting really close with my friends and just getting real with God. And I just wanted to share Christ with everyone and just pour it into everything that I did. And so that meant that included YouTube. And so that's when my channel took a turn, and that's when I saw different responses from different people, because my people on YouTube weren't used to that. And so that's whenever I had to start accepting different people's criticism.
Yeah, I can imagine that the response from that. How have you been able to learn how to handle criticism, especially about your faith?
Well, it definitely hasn't been easy. I remember sitting in my room and getting a couple different negative comments when I was younger and not knowing how to navigate how to take it. Like, I just didn't know how to take it because, you know, when you're younger, you're a little bit vulnerable to negative comments in general, whether that's in person or online. And sometimes I believe, like, online it could be even more hurtful because you're sitting in sometimes just in your room alone, and it could just start to ponder in your mind, and you don't know how to take it, and you don't know how people mean it. And in person, you can see someone's expression, you can see how someone means it, but online, you don't know how they take it. You could just perceive it in the worst way. And so whenever I got all these negative comments, I was taking it the wrong way. So over the years, I just developed a hard head towards it, in all honesty. Yeah. I just realized that these people really don't know me, and they're just seeing a small part of my life, and also that the gospel offends people, and that it's going to offend people because it even says that in Scripture, and I shouldn't be afraid of that, and it's my calling in life to share it, and so I'm going to continue to do so. And so how I handle it is I usually, if I'm going to respond, I respond kindly. But if I don't respond, then I just don't respond. And then there's been a lot of times where if they consistently comment rude things, then I'll block people and I'll delete comments.
Yeah, I've heard Christine Kane say you block in Jesus' name.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, sometimes you do have to just do that.
Right. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, block in Jesus' name, because I mean, at some point it's just like trolling and uncalled for, and so yeah, I definitely don't think you need to be a doormat when it comes to that kind of thing. Anyway, so I'm just wondering for maybe younger people listening that are still in school, still in college, and they are inspired and want to live out their faith and really impact the people around them, but maybe they're, feeling scared. They don't know what their friends are going to think or whatever. What kind of advice would you give to them?
Well, I've been there, and sometimes I feel like I'm still there. There's a specific person in my class right now in college, and I'm trying to share my faith with them, but I don't know how to necessarily go there with them because they're of a completely different religion. Like, it's crazy. I don't know how to witness to them in the right way, but I'm reading up on how to. But I know the semester's coming to a close, and so I've been kind of there, and I'm currently there in a way. And so in the past, what I've done is I've just asked God to put me in their shoes and just also allow God to give me the eyes to see what it was like before I had met him, and what my life was like before I was walking with him, and how desperate I was for him in my life. Because I feel like once we see that, then we're able to understand how much we would want him in our lives if we were on the other side of it. And so then that would give us more motivation to share him with others. And so I think we have to first come at it with create a relationship with that person. If you're not directly friends with them yet, then you have to work on the relationship with that person, because you can't just go up to a person and be like, yo, Jesus died for your sins, blah, 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 because, it just kind of turns, it just turns people off. It's kind of like standing outside at an event protesting a certain thing. Like, it just turns people off. And then just begin to work in small conversations to probe, I guess, the conversations that you're trying to have. And so I'm not necessarily an expert in this area because I'm still trying to learn, but I feel like I have the extreme side of this right now, because God's working on my heart in this way with someone who is just totally different, from a different religion. And so I'm like reading up on their religion to be able to relate to them before I even like share my faith with them, because I don't want to get wrong like their terms or any of that.
Right.
So I totally relate to this person, whoever is listening to this, and they just say, I don't know what to do, I'm scared, because, I've been there, I'm currently there, but, I think that just the relationship's so important, and then just also placing yourself in their shoes to motivate you and say, what was my life like before I had met Christ?
Mm-hmm.
And
that's so good to have this, really the compassion to drive you, compassion for their need. I mean, I think a lot of times it's people don't even think about it, like, don't even think about the other people around them and whether they know God and whether they want to share their faith. And so I think that's great to start with that and then just build that relationship. So I think that's so good. And of course, like you said, I mean, just looking to God to, lead you in those things. So I wanted to talk about something that you shared. Actually, through all of these years, you've actually had a couple like really hard times. And last year you went off to college and you began to experience some depression and anxiety. Talk about what that season of your life was like and how you got through it.
Last year, I went off to California Baptist University, and I loved it. Like the first couple, I believe it was like probably like 2.5 weeks in. The first week was awesome. There was like Christian raves going on. Like it was just super fun. And then about 3.5 weeks in, I like couldn't get any food down. I couldn't focus in school. I felt called out of the current relationship I was in. Like literally God like spoke to me and was like, you got to get out of this relationship. And so that shook me in a really big way. And so it was really hard because that relationship was already a long distance relationship, and we're already dating for quite a few months. And it was like my first serious relationship. And so that kind of didn't really help. And that's when my battle with depression kind of started. And I came home for the weekend, and I didn't know if I was going to go back to school. And then I decided, like, this is just not the right time for school. So I came home and I got my money back. Luckily, it was like perfect timing, because that Monday, that was the last day that you could get your full, your full refund. And so that's whenever my battle with depression kind of started. And then the next couple months, it just kind of got worse. I didn't know where all this was coming from. I was having anxiety attacks, and I just really had to lean on God. Like I was just waking up every morning, like trying to get in His Word, but it was hard. Like I couldn't keep food down, and just a lot of different things were happening. And then at the same time, my dad was laid off from his job because the company was having a lot of cuts, and it was just crazy. A lot of things happened. And so during that time, my faith was the only thing that really got me through, because there was a lot of times where you just wanted to say, God, like, why? Like, I just want to give up, And so that's kind of what that was like. But I think, my family helped me through that. I got involved in therapy. My faith helped me through that. And I also had, like, one of my childhood best friends, her mom was a nurse, and she said, yo, like, you got to get your blood sugar up. Like, we have to get this thing going, because otherwise, like, your health is just going to decline. And so I had a lot of help, and I was really thankful throughout that time. That I had a lot of people that loved me, and I think it was a really big a really big part of my testimony because I was able to write it in the book that I just had that came out.
Yes, and I think that's so great that you talk about community, and that really is what helps bring us through. I mean, we're made for community, and I don't think that's an accident, and that's what helped you through. So I'm a mom, like I said, of 2 teenage daughters, and I'm wondering, hang on, excuse me. I'm wondering what, from your perspective as nearly a 20-year-old, what do you think are some really important steps that I can take to continue to raise confident girls?
Well, one thing that I love that my mom has done with me growing up is just spending time with her. Like, I love just spending time with her. I just don't think that we mention how much we love spending time with you guys, like going to the mall together, whatever they love doing with you. I'm not sure what your daughters enjoy doing, but I believe like raising confident daughters has a lot to do with how they see how confident you are and how the example that you set. Because I don't know if you've ever heard of like, I don't know how exactly the saying goes, but it's like, Mom, why do I have to do that? Because I said so. But like, no, you have to like show that you're doing that. Like, you know, don't be a sayer, be a doer. So like, show that you're doing certain things. Set the example instead of just saying certain things. Yeah. I feel like it's weird me giving you advice.
No, I love it. No, I know it is, but you're a little bit ahead of the game from where my kids are, right? And a little bit more mature, but you have a unique perspective. You know, you've kind of gone through the teen years and become an adult, and so I think it's great to get a fresh perspective from somebody young to say what, and you're so close to it. So like, what has really mattered in your life to raise those confident girls? So I'm taking notes. This is so good.
Yeah. So I mean, I love spending time with her. I still do, and I mean, just hearing affirmation from my mom, like, you know, how I look, like whenever I put extra effort into the outfit that I'm wearing or the makeup that I'm wearing, I love hearing that because, you know, it's nice to spend extra time looking cute and then having everyone in your family compliment you. It shows that you care. And also maybe just getting recommendations from different like devotionals that you like or something like that. I'm not sure like what their reading life is like, if they like reading or something like that, but I love reading the like 7-day devotionals on the Bible app.
Yes,
and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my mom reads some of those things sometimes, and I love reading those too. And so it creates different connections like that. So I think those are kind of unique things to do as well.
Yes, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I know. I think it's good for both of us to hear that, to see from 2 different perspectives what's really good. And it's so interesting. I actually had a guest last week on, Lynn Cowell, and she talked about, as a mother, she's a newly empty nester, and she talked a lot about exactly what you're saying is, like doing the things, being a doer and not saying. So like, yeah, as a mom, to do the things that you want your child to do, and then they can mimic or copy that too, and not just all the time having a lot of words.
Exactly. Yeah. And I always tell people, like, if I'm saying a lot of things and I'm not doing it, like, correct me, because I don't want to be a sayer. I want to be a doer.
And that's so tough. I mean, like, as a mom, I'm like, oh my goodness, you really have to be the person that, you want your daughter to be. And that can be a heavy burden sometimes, to really walk the walk, but so good.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit more about the book. What can people expect when they pick up this book?
So the book covers quite a lot of topics. I like to say that it's a lifestyle, faith, and beauty guide for young adults. And so it covers anything from depression and beauty, anxiety, friendships, dating, community, pretty much you name it. It covers all of those things. And then from the moment people pick it up to the moment they put it down, I just truly hope that those who read it find their true identity and worth in who the creator of the universe says that they are.
Yes, that's so good. All right, so if people want to connect with you or they want their daughters to connect with you, where can they pick up the book and connect with you online?
Well, you can search my name, Chelsea Crockett, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. On Instagram, it's Chelsea K. Crockett, but on everywhere else, it's Chelsea Crockett. And then to order the book, you can go on Amazon and search Your Own Beautiful, and it should come up. But yeah, that's how you can connect with me.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I just love the wisdom that you have at such a young age, and I'm just excited to see where God is going to lead in your life.
Oh, thank you so much, Amy. It's been a pleasure to be on the podcast, and I wish you guys luck in the future.
Thank you. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation with Chelsea. I sure enjoyed having someone young and passionate on the podcast. It was so fun to talk to her. There's several things that I think that we can take from that conversation and really just apply it to our own lives. And the first one, of course, is that she talks about having that daily time with God and how important that is for any of us. And I just love that she has learned that at such a young age. And really, that was such a great reminder. That's how we both stay grounded and lifted up and really just connected to God and seeing what He's doing in our lives. I love that she said, that's her favorite time. Her car time is her favorite time. And I just love that because I think we all can have these like spaces where it's just us and God. That's my closet for me. If I go in my closet, that's just me and God, and that's one of my favorite places too. So I love that, and that she has that. The second thing that I love that she talked about is how she intentionally decided to use all of her life to share her faith. I think it really begs the question for all of us, what are we involved in that perhaps we've sectioned off God from? I think sometimes we have a tendency to do that. Like, this is my God thing over here with church, my Bible study, but then this thing over here is just for me, and it really doesn't have anything to do with God or my faith. But I think there's so many things that we're involved in that we can be intentional about sharing Christ, even if it's not something that's necessarily about faith or about Christ, being, on the PTA at school. I think we can be really intentional about relationships that we're building there and to share our faith there. Even our own personal Facebook timelines and, giving God glory there and not being fearful of that. So many things, our hobbies that we have, I think we can look at those and ask God, how can I intentionally use this time and these passions that you've given me to share my faith with others. And the final thing that I just really loved about her is just, how she has this perspective now that she does have this platform, how she just looks at it and says, I'm just going to see what God does. Is He, this could all end tomorrow. I don't know. It could all end tomorrow and I would be okay with, He makes my platform smaller, or it could grow even more. And I'll be ready for that. And I just love how she just lets God lead and walking through the doors that He does open. I think that's just such a mature outlook on the platform that she has been given and the ministry that He has given her. And, I think we can carry that into any situation. I think sometimes we do the opposite of, instead of, just letting being okay with whatever God is doing, I think we so often can, or maybe this is just me, I don't know, we can plan and strategize and figure out, what can we do next? And I think we can do that with God's full blessing at times, but I think also sometimes we need to stop, and instead of, striving and figuring it out on our own, that we can stop and ask God, what are you wanting to do with this next? And then kind of sitting back and watching how God answers our prayer. And I think that's a different way we can approach ministry and sharing our faith and all of that. So I appreciated that perspective from her. So as I said, I'm so thankful for people like Chelsea as a mom of kids who watch YouTube. And I'm just so thankful that there are people who are walking closely with the Lord and then are utilizing these channels and platforms on the internet to be able to be bold and to share their faith, and that the word of the gospel is getting out. So thankful for people like Chelsea. Thank you, Chelsea. So guys, I think that's going to be it. I want to remind you to follow us over on Facebook and Instagram. Our accounts are Abiding Ministry in both of those places. Again, we are live every weekday morning between 7 and 8 a.m. Eastern as we do a short devotional and just say hello to each other. It's so fun. I would love for you to join us over there. But in the meantime, I love that we meet here, and I really appreciate you guys meeting me here. And again, you have so many options with your podcasts, and I'm just so grateful that you've picked this one. I'm so encouraged that you're here, and I'm so encouraged by our guests like Chelsea, and I'm glad you've chosen here. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week on Feathers.